an entrepreneur comes with freedom, but let me be honest, it also comes with frustration. I've shared the top 5 reasons I love being a business owner, but today we're flipping the script. In this video, I'm going to break down the top 5 reasons I sometimes absolutely hate being an entrepreneur.
Say what?
Yeah, I said it. Because no one talks about the downside very often. And if you're thinking about starting a business, then you need to hear this. Reason number 1 is going to be managing people. You absolutely need people to keep you from staying small too long. But I tell you, y'all, managing people has got to be the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. I remember my days of being a solopreneur where I only had to worry about myself. But I also remember during those times that it was difficult for me to grow because I was a one-man shop. So it was me. And any day that I couldn't show up, guess what? That impacted my business. So although I am grateful for managing 40 plus employees now across 2 different businesses, it comes with a lot of challenges. And when I say challenges, you've got to remember that when you're managing people, not everybody's going to work like you. Not everybody's going to think like you. You're having people that have real issues at home. You have people who have real issues in the workplace. You have people who have real issues in general. And sometimes you just can't leave your personal and bring business just to business. Sometimes those two intermingle. So what I realize is now that we have a better org structure and put myself several levels away from the actual managing of the people part, it's gotten a whole lot better. However, we're going to bring this back up as I go into another point, because although I'm not managing the people and having to be there in the day-to-day, that also brings up another issue. That is another reason why I sometimes dislike being an entrepreneur. Number 2 is going to be inconsistent pay. Now, the inconsistent pay part was especially true for me when we very first started out, because you're still trying to build the business. You're not drawing the same salary that you may have had when you left corporate America. So you're really trying to find a way to invest in your company. But also, if that's your main business and the only thing you're doing because you're not having another job, then guess what? You may not have the same salary and the same amount of resources and money that you had prior. And that becomes an issue, okay? So whenever you're working a job, you know you're going to get paid every 2 weeks or every month or whatever that pay schedule is like. That is not always the case as an entrepreneur. And even now that we're more established, but we have all these employees, if something were to happen, guess who's the very first person that's going to lose their salary? It's going to be me and my partners, because you still need the workforce to actually be able to do the work. So it's always in the back of your mind, like, wow, is there one day going to come where I don't have this anymore? And that if there's something catastrophic happen, then I don't have a paycheck. So that is the second reason why sometimes I hate being an entrepreneur, is because of the inconsistent pay. Now, on the flip side of that, when you're able to actually start earning a salary that was very similar to what you had when you were working full time, but you're not necessarily doing as much of the day-to-day work, that is a very rewarding feeling. So I hope that you see throughout this particular video, you're going to see some of the negatives, but you're also going to see the positives. And I will go ahead and tell you that the positives always for me have outweighed the negatives. Number 3, also related to money, is revenue does not necessarily equal profit. I see a lot of people talk about, here's what my company made last year. I run a multi-million-dollar company. I run a 6-figure company, all these things. Just because you run a company that makes that kind of revenue, that is not saying what is the profit. And it's also not saying what are you yourself taking home as in pay. So I think that's a misconception that people have. They look at entrepreneurs and they say, oh my goodness, she's running this multi-million-dollar business, she must have a lot of money. No, just because I'm generating that revenue, that does not mean that I'm actually earning millions of dollars. Okay. So I think that's very important. And that gets frustrating sometimes, because you have people looking at you like you're a millionaire and like you have this huge salary and all of this money. And that's not necessarily the case. So revenue doesn't necessarily equal profit, and profit doesn't necessarily mean what you're actually bringing home into your absolute pocket. And while we're on this discussion, let's just talk about some of the things that go into the expenses that take away from the revenue. I just told you I have 40 plus employees across 2 businesses. So payroll is the number 1 expense. Then you have benefits. We offer 401k benefits. We give money for health insurance. So you have those expenses. Then you have your marketing and advertising. You have travel, because you have to go out and visit clients, or you're going to conferences. You have your website that you're going to have to do. And because we deal with PHI, we also have to have have our security in place as far as cybersecurity. The other big thing is insurance. So you got to have cybersecurity insurance. So there's a lot of things that you have to have in the infrastructure of your business that's going to account for expenses that get subtracted from the revenue. And then you're left with the profit. And out of the profit, you have to decide how much do I want to earn as a salary or a pay. The fourth one is the weight of responsibility. And this is the one that I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about people. Now that you've got all these people that are depending on you for their livelihood. And I think for me, I know how much our employees, the bulk of them, enjoy working for us. I know we're in a unique market. And so a lot of pharmacists and technicians do not get the opportunity to work in the industry and in a setting like we have. So that's very important to me because I feel like I have provided them an atmosphere that they may not have gotten elsewhere. And so whenever you're thinking about it and you're making decisions, you're always wondering and making sure that you're not making the wrong decision that's going to lead to something to where those 40 people are going to be affected. And so the weight of that you have to carry as an entrepreneur can get very heavy. And so I don't want anybody to be deceived that as an entrepreneur, you're not going to have some mental heaviness. And it's not necessarily going to be just what you're worried about from your own personal standpoint. But once you start bringing on employees or a team, you actually have those people that are relying on you as well. So if you're a Christ follower like me, you may have heard me say before that I am the vessel. So I'm not the source of these people's income. I am the person that Jesus allowed to be the vessel to provide the source of income for these people. So I'm absolutely aware that if my company's never existed before, I firmly believe that Christ will find those people another source of income because he's promised to provide for us. That in and of itself also comes with another weight of responsibility because these are the things that I have prayed for. I have sat down and I have prayed and I have asked the Lord, I want my own company. I want to be able to set a culture for people to be able to come in and work. I want to be able to solve my clients' problems. I want to be nimble. I want to do all these things. And he gave it to me. In the days where it feels very heavy and it feels like the weight is unbearable, I sometimes feel guilty because I asked for these things. I saw something on Instagram one day. What happens when you begin to complain about the answers to your prayers? And that's a very powerful statement. And that's what you get sometimes when you are an entrepreneur. The other weight of responsibility is around performing for your clients. I'm in a very niche market and I always talk about good customer service. And sometimes when organizations get too big, you get away from some of the core values like good customer service. Because if you think about it, if you have 1,000 people working for you, it's going to be very hard to find 1,000 good people that have great customer service skills. There's bound to be a couple of folks in there that's not performing the way that you would actually have them to perform. And so that weighs on me as an entrepreneur because I want to make sure that the clients are being serviced the way that I would service them. And sometimes that gets lost, especially when you're no longer in the day-to-day, because that is the ultimate goal. And that goes back to people. So if you hire in the right people, but someday they may not be the right people, or you didn't hire the right person to start with, whatever the case may be, you still have the weight and the responsibility. Like, am I performing for these clients? Am I producing what we actually promise? And those are the type things that weigh on you as an entrepreneur, especially if you're an entrepreneur that's focused on doing the right thing. We always want to do the right thing. And we always want to make sure that we're taking care of people and that we're over delivering whenever we're out here trying to perform on these contracts. And then the fifth and final reason why sometimes I dislike being an entrepreneur is you really don't have any days off. People can say what they want. You as an entrepreneur, you do not have any days off. I don't care if you have business partners or not, you're not going to have days off because here's the deal. If something goes down in your business, you're the one that they're going to call. As an entrepreneur, you're always on call for your business. So I went on a Disney cruise a couple months ago, and it was a whole week-long cruise. And I did everything I could the week before so that I could actually prepare and not have to work on the cruise itself. Literally, while I was there, a proposal came in about an RFI for some work. Now, I didn't have to answer it right then, but the sheer fact is it came in. I wanted to go ahead and start seeing what they were asking for and having my team go ahead and start pulling some of the information. So back to the hours part of it. When you're starting out, I remember working 50 plus hours per week, 6-7 days a week. Now I don't have to work as much and as many hours. But when you're first starting out, be ready to grind and be ready to work more than 40 plus hours. It's not like when you're working in corporate America and you you can go and do your 40 hours or 45, whatever you're scheduled for, and go home. In an entrepreneur world, you're pretty much working 24/7. And if you're not working, you're on call for your business 24/7. And then with the hours thing, so let's say you own a pharmacy like we do, and let's say you actually work that pharmacy. And then when you get off, when the store closes at 6, don't think that your day's done. You still got to handle your payroll. You got to still look at your books. You still got to look at your inventory. There's still things that you have to do in your actual business, even though you've already worked the hours that were actually on the door. Now, from a consulting standpoint, my hours are flexible as far as me actually working. And if you remember from the top 5 reasons why I enjoy working for myself, one of them was time, autonomy, and freedom. However, with that being said, I also do the advertising and the marketing. So in the evening, it's nothing for me to be creating reels, to come up with content that I need for LinkedIn, for other social media pages to promote the company. So those type things. So as an entrepreneur, sometimes there are no days off. And even if you set it up very well and prepared very well to be off, you're still in your mind knowing that you're on call and anything could happen at that point in time where somebody's actually going to call you. So just to recap, the 5 reasons why I sometimes dislike being an entrepreneur. Number 1 is going to be people. Number 2 is inconsistent pay. Number 3 is when people confuse revenue with profit and confuse that with what you actually bring home. Number 4, the weight of responsibility, whether that be from your team and your employees or the clients that you're actually serving. And number 5 is going to be you absolutely never have any days off. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I just want to get some more candid videos out there. It's one thing to show you how to start a business and run it, but I think it's very important that you are aware of the mindset and the mindset shifts that occur as an entrepreneur. So until next time, go out and be great.